Should you learn how to use the AWS console, or should you just skip that and go straight to building stuff in AWS using IAC or infrastructure as code? Well, that question came up in our Discord channel. So if you want to participate in discussions like that, ask me questions, or just lurk, because that's okay too, check out the Discord channel, links down below. But the short answer to that question is yes, you should learn how to use the AWS console, and let me tell you why. Hey, what's up? I am Will from DevOps for Developers, and yes, you should learn how to use the AWS console because a lot of times whenever you're looking at stuff, trying to discover what's going on, it's just faster to know where that's located in the console and go look at it there. Now, there's a bigger reason for this besides that, and it's the way that I typically approach things. So let's say I've got to build something in AWS that I've never built before, or that I haven't built in a while and have forgotten most of how it works. It's pretty common for me to just go to the AWS console and point and click my way to happiness until I have that thing running, right? Let's just use AWS Fargate as an example. So I'll point and click and get that up and running. Now that does a couple of things for me. One, it quickly gives me the end product that I'm looking for to make sure that it's gonna do the thing that I thought it was gonna do. The other thing is it allows me to discover what some of the hidden dependencies in that thing might be. For example, with Fargate, it automatically creates an IAM role, identity and access management role, that allows the Fargate service to launch other AWS components on your behalf, like load balancers and things like that. So if you try to build one using infrastructure as code straight up front, and you don't know about those dependencies, you're going to spend a ton of time troubleshooting why this thing doesn't work. So now, in addition to that, I know about these dependencies now. I can also evaluate as whether or not I want those dependencies. You know, I may already have an IAM role set up that has those permissions, so I may not want a separate role for that. I may want to consolidate that into something I already have. But either way, now I know that it exists and I can make that decision. So now I can go ahead and create that second service using my infrastructure as code. I know what the end result should look like because I built one from the console, can fine tune my code until that second service looks like the first one. I've got my dependencies documented now. And when it's all up and running, I can tear down that one that I built via the console so that it doesn't inadvertently get used in production. Now, it's also worth talking about, since we're on this topic, of why you want to do IAC anyway. So let's do that through an example. Let's say that you built out that service in AWS Fargate. It's up and running and working great. And I come along and I make a change to make it better, right? Well, what did I change? You don't really know. And even worse, if the thing that I changed actually broke something, like the best case scenario is it blows up immediately. Another alternative to that that's even more painful, believe it or not, is something that's only kind of broken because it only breaks whenever certain conditions are met. So it's like an intermittent failure because it's only happening under a certain set of circumstances. So now we've got the scenario, you built the service, it was working, I came along, changed it, and then I also happened to go on vacation. So, you know, I'm on a flight to the Pacific on an island somewhere for my vacation, and no one knows what I did, right? So that's a bad thing, and that's why I don't like to use the console for production services. If we use the infrastructure as code model, the infrastructure code itself is going to live in a repository like GitHub. So if I decide that I want to make it better and make changes to it, I'm going to check out that repository, create a branch, make my changes in that branch, open up a pull request to merge those changes back into the main branch. I'll have you or someone else on the team review those changes to make sure that that they look okay, that it's actually going to do what I think it's going to do, and that it's not going to have some unforeseen consequences. Just a second set of eyes on that. Once we go through that review process, I will merge the pull request into main and then deploy that out to our application. And now it's live in production. And at the same time, we also have this historical documented process of what the configuration used to look like, what changes were made, when they were made, who made them, and this whole audit process that just goes along with that. So that's why you want to focus on infrastructure as code. So if you are interested in AWS, you might have looked at it and seen all of these different options, and you're wondering like, well, am I supposed to be using ECS, or am I supposed to use Fargate, or am I supposed to use EC2? I've actually got a video on that I will link here on the side and down below. That'll help you evaluate those different services from AWS and determine which one is right for you. And I'll see you in the next video.